The police department is kind of divided in half.
Right.
Which is what you often hear the chief talking about at presentations and whatnot, about the flow, the workflow. It's not practical, it's not helpful.
Right.
We've got the chief's office over here, which you'll see shortly. And then there's a little bit of an administrative area there, photocopier, computers and some stuff. And then this is the patrol, and the sergeant's office is tucked in over there, the patrol sergeants. This is where all the officers' desks are, and this is the lieutenant's office. So the lieutenants and the sergeants are far away from each other.
Right.
And then the patrol officers are kind of here, and the chief is over there. My office is across the hall with the detectives.
Right.
Not because I supervise the detectives exclusively, but because that's the only place there is to give me an office. So if I want to talk to the chief about something or meet with the chief about something, I have to come all the way over through here. It's not unusual to have a citizen in the hallway that's, oh, officer, can you help me out with something? Which is fine, but you know, I can't come see the chief and he can't come see me without having to go through a public
Right.
part of the building or a public hallway. If a patrol officer wants to meet with a detective about something, they can't go over there and have a conversation without, you know, if someone's out there waiting to speak to an officer, we don't like to have an officer walk by and be like, oh, I'll be with you in a minute and go over there. It just, that's not how we want to do business, you know? So it's inefficient, it takes a lot of time, it's just not well put together.
Right.
As we walk around, you'll see where a lot of things are just sort of tucked away as far as the storage goes. For example, we give folks Alka-Sensor tests sometimes, whether it's on the street because they've been drinking or maybe during a DUI or something, or someone who signs in here. Well, we keep those here because it's just kind of a convenient spot to keep them. So we've got the Alco tubes just sort of tucked away in the corner here, you know, which isn't the most efficient place to keep them. The lieutenant's office, which is here, there are 3 lieutenants that work, and it's pretty cramped spaces. So they've got their 3 desks lined up that they kind of do all their stuff. We only have one space for one computer set up in here, so they all share the same computer. There's a lot that goes on in this office. They run the shifts, the 3 shifts from here. The day shift lieutenant is in charge of our vehicle maintenance, which all happens on this board over here. It's just, there are too many things happening in here at the same time. A lot of storage is tucked away in here. It's just not very efficiently or well laid out. So let's keep going here, and we can continue the tour. If a guy's working on a report here and he has a question for his sergeant, he has to stop what he's doing, get up, go all the way over there, talk to the. Or if a sergeant wants to know what's going on with his officers, you know, he's 3 rooms away. It's just not an efficient way to supervise your shift.
Yeah.
So, just a bulletin board where you put information, overtime shifts, stuff like that. This is the chief's office that I just discussed, and then this is that sort of little administrative area. We don't have a real safe and secure place to keep the MDTs that we use, the mobile data computers that we use. We're going to be purchasing a 4th one here in the next couple of weeks. They just get put here and get plugged in to charge, but it's kind of out in the open, it's not secure, it's dusty, you know, there's definitely better places and ways to store them than this. So that's that goes under kind of the equipment storage and that sort of thing.
And I love the peeling paint in the corner.
Yeah, peeling paint in the corner, she probably doesn't want you in the peeling paint in the corner.
You're covering the peeling paint, James.
You know, a bunch of the ceiling tiles in here were recently replaced, although this one wasn't. You can see the watermarks on that.
Right.
The reason that these all had these terrible water stains is not because the roof leaks. The roof is 3 floors above us. It's because tucked up in here is an air conditioning unit because there's nowhere else to put an air conditioning unit. So when it freezes up or when it breaks, it leaks. And you know, in the summertime, every once in a while, we'll have a bucket here in the middle catching the leaks from the air conditioning unit. As we walk through the other side of the hall, you're going to go from like 80 degrees to 65 degrees to, you know, all the rooms are, it's very inefficient. That's more of a function of the building than just the police department.
Right.
But, yeah, so come on through here. Again, the chief's office, which is segregated away from mine. This is something that if you didn't take a picture of it
That's
This
the
is,
gun locker,
this
isn't
is
it?
where we store our long guns.
Yeah.
Right, so there are shotguns and rifles behind here. Again, I would rather you just maybe reference that like, maybe not the most secure way that we could do. I don't want to imply that our guns aren't secure because they are. They're dead bolted in here and this isn't a publicly accessible area.
You would have to work to get them,
Right.
but you could get them.
But they should be in a locked vault. You know, it's not a standard way to keep them. Go through this little passageway here. Mailboxes for all the officers. Who's standing out there? It's really cold.
It is cold.
Well, all that cold air blasts down into the cell block. And we have heaters down there, and it's reasonable, and they have blankets, but it's not comfortable. When this door opens, there's a big blast of cold air that goes down there, and it's not that jail's supposed to be comfortable, but the fact that you're there is the punishment, not, it shouldn't be a bad
You
experience.
shouldn't be
right?
shivering the whole time.
Exactly. You guys, I think, have seen that video of me bringing a prisoner through here. There are concerns about this space.
Would you do me a favor? Would you just stand halfway down the stairwell so I can...
Facing up or facing down?
Facing up?
Yeah.
Just because I think people don't see how steep it is.
So my response to that would be, that's true, you know, you can get more exercise, but the nature of the work that the police officers do is, they work independently a lot, but it's not unusual for them to need advice or help from a sergeant that regularly enough when they're in here working on paperwork, that they may need a suggestion or have a question for a supervisor, that it's inefficient for them to have to get up and walk over to the other side of the, you know, office or whatever to speak to them. It's just inefficient. It slows down the work and it makes things not work as well. It would be better if the sergeants, the lieutenants, and the officers were all at least in the same part of the same quarter of the office or area of the building.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To get brought, so the closest interview room to where they are is right there. So if an officer, and it's got video surveillance in there so we can record interrogations. If an officer wanted to interrogate them or interview them about what happened, he'd have to bring them up and walk them past potentially a bunch of people having lunch and bring them in here. And that's not, one, it's not safe, and two, it's not a reasonable work environment for, you know, there should be a spot where you can safely relax and have lunch or make a cup of coffee and not have to worry about suspects and prisoners being paraded back and forth through your workspace. It's just not the way police departments are built and not the way police departments are run. It's unsafe and it's not efficient.
What about bathrooms, lockers, and do they have a place where they can exercise and relax? And because I'm pretty sure officers during the day get a lot of different situations.
There are locker rooms and bathrooms, and I can show you those. They're downstairs. Go across the hall, and I can show you that part. So again, this is part of that workflow and efficient thing. Now we have to come over here to do this.
And this is record storage, isn't it?
So this is the clerk's area, the records area. They handle all the case paperwork. They prepare all the criminal cases that the officers write up. There's one that works over here, there's one that works over here. Again, their workflow in and of itself is not too bad. A lot of the new police departments, there are a lot of the designs that you've seen, they have a public access window because a big part of their job is releasing reports and records to people. So very often, as you know, media will request reports and records and stuff like that. But also, citizens will for car crashes, landowners will for their apartment buildings, very common for businesses will for shoplifting complaints and that sort of stuff. They want copies of police reports. Very, very common. They process a dozen a week, you know, sometimes more, where they're doing records requests and satisfying them, and they don't have, there's no way for the public to come in and make that request directly to them. It usually either comes by way of a phone call in which they get referred back here, they have to come back, to fill out a particular form that they fill out in dispatch, which then eventually makes its way over here. It's, again, just part of that whole, we want the department to be more accessible to people in those circumstances. So you go from records to our training room or roll call room. At the beginning of every shift, all the officers that are working will come in here and meet with their supervisor for a half an hour before the shift starts to talk about what happened on previous shifts, new crime developments that are going on, things they should be aware of, and they get their shift assignments, their duty assignment, what part of town they're covering, and all that kind of stuff. You know what the next thing I'm gonna say is, the patrol officer briefing happens the opposite side of the building from where all the patrol officers work.
Okay.
But this is the only place where there's room for this. So again, it's inefficient so they'll go over there, they get all their equipment ready, they get all their cruiser bags ready, they load up their cars, and then they come over here and they have their roll call.
Okay.
It's away from their desks, it's away from where they do all their paperwork. It's again, very inefficient and not set up very well. A lot of equipment storage over here, which again is okay, but it would be better if it were stored in more appropriate places. Tasers shouldn't be stored in the roll call room. Tasers should be stored with other weapons over on the patrol side. A lot of this patrol-oriented equipment and detective-oriented equipment is all kind of stored together because this is sort of the only area that we have to store all that stuff.
So, just making sure I heard that right, you have patrol and detectives stuff kind of commingled
in this particular storage area, because there's storage all over the place.
Right.
So you'll have
Nooks and
things.
crannies.
You'll have things like AEDs, which are the heart things, radars, lasers, which are speed enforcement things, cameras, and a lot of other stuff that is patrol oriented. But then you've got things like body wire kits, which is like it's self-explanatory what a body wire kit is. Other things, the night vision stuff, a lot of the stuff that they use during search warrants, the little spy sticks and sea snake things and digital video cameras that they use and stuff like that. The metal detectors is all more detective oriented stuff, but it's all just kind of jammed into these lockers because this is one of the few areas we have where we can store equipment. It's not a good way to do it. The TV up here isn't hooked up to the TV, unfortunately. It's basically a giant computer monitor, and it can be hooked up to that DVD player. So we'll play like training videos, or if there's training videos that are online or online trainings, we'll do it through that as well. A lot of the trainings are PowerPoint oriented, so they'll be able to do them on that. A lot of times they'll do brief half-hour or so refresher trainings during the roll calls. The lieutenants and sergeants will train the officers on that.
So, did I hear, I just want to make sure I heard it right. Did I hear the chief say during the last public meeting, that happened like at the academy school?
Yeah.
That this room actually isn't big enough to train everyone all at once? Did I hear that
It's
correctly?
definitely not big enough to train everyone all at once, but it's also not big enough for him to, I think the quote you're referring to was, he talked about all of his supervisors.
Okay.
And there are 13 of us all together, so between the command staff of the department, which is the chief and I, the lieutenants and sergeants, the dispatch supervisor, and then the records supervisor, there
Okay.
I think 13 of us all together, 79, 10, yeah. I think there are 13. Anyway, there isn't room in here to have all of us together to have a meeting, to have our monthly staff meeting. Usually, people will be sitting all around the table and then someone's sitting kind of in the doorway and, if we do have something where we want to have the whole department together, there is no place in the department we can do that. We usually go upstairs to the select board room if we need to have like a department-wide meeting, which we try to do every year or so, to have the whole department all together at once. Very often we'll execute search warrants or have other significant events that require a lot of police officers, and whenever we do that, we have a briefing beforehand. So like 4th of July.
Right.
Ton of police officers work 4th of July. Before we do that, we have all those officers, 15, 20, 25 officers all together to have, and the supervisor who's in charge of that whole event, the incident commander, will brief all the officers, this is what your responsibility is, this is what your responsibility is. We don't have a room where we can do that. So what happens is we do it here, and there are just rows of people sort of lined up in here, standing room only,
Yeah.
for the briefing of whatever we're gonna do. So we don't have places where we can efficiently have briefings and roll calls for stuff like that. So we just make do with what we have, is
Right.
basically what happens now. Yeah. All right,
Fantastic, thank you, sir.
sure, come right through here. This is the detective work area. I'll ask you to please not take pictures of their desks because they probably have a lot of case stuff.
Yeah.
They tend to just leave it out, so please don't take pictures of their desks. Now this is my office, and this is the detective lieutenant's office. Again, me being over here isn't because I'm exclusively in charge of them, it's just because this is the only spot for me to
Right.
have an office, right? So,
This wall looks different.
this is new.
Ah,
So, yep, these are new. It was in the capital plan for this year to get new evidence lockers.
okay.
So the old ones, you remember, were those wooden kind of maroon
Yeah.
things? Right.
They
and-
looked like something we had in high school.
Exactly, right. These are much, much better. The way, well, that one's locked. The way they work is you open it up, you put in whatever evidence you have, you close it, and you just lift this thing up and it locks it, and then it looks like this, and you can't unlock it. There's no key.
Ah.
The way it works is it's a pass-through into the evidence room, which is behind this.
Ah.
They open a door
Right.
and take it out the other side. And then
Hey,
it gets
cool.
logged in as evidence. So it's much more efficient, it's much more durable, it's metal. They're supposed to be, every time evidence gets taken out of them, they get wiped down because nowadays with DNA evidence
You
and
don't
lots of
wanna
other
cross.
trace evidence, exactly, you
Yeah.
don't want to cross-contaminate. And we were not able to do that with our previous lockers, so, because they were wood, painted wood. So this being metal is much easier to deal with, and it looks a little sharper too, which is nice.
Well, and the dark wood was dark.
It was dark,
No,
right? So this,
good.
we were actually talking today how it makes the room look bigger,
It does.
just because they're a lighter color. So, and we were worried we were going to lose space, but we didn't. We have almost as many lockers as we did before,
Fantastic.
which is good. Yeah.
Now, I seem to remember something way back when about ventilation in the evidence room. Not being great.
Yes, there is no ventilation in the evidence
Okay,
room.
so that
right.
would not be great.
And I don't have access to the evidence room because if there were ever an issue, a problem with evidence that needed to be investigated, it has to be investigated by someone who doesn't have access to the room.
Right.
Right, so that's me.
Independent
I'm the
third
designated.
party.
The chief has access to it, the detective lieutenant does, and one of the detectives do, whatever's grammatically correct. But I don't.
Oh,
So that if
interesting.
there ever is an issue in there, I can investigate it. I don't know how to get, I don't have a key, I don't know where the keys are, there's an alarm, I don't know the alarm code. So I can honestly stand up and say, I can't access evidence so that I can investigate it, is basically how that works.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, we're kind of getting off topic, but I also do, that's one of my jobs as captain, is kind of not supervising or managing the evidence, because I stay away from that, but I sort of audit the evidence.
Oh,
So
okay.
what I'll do is every quarter, I go into our evidence manager system and I randomly pick a couple of cases. I try to do a gun, drugs, money, and something else every quarter. So those are the 4 things I pick.
Okay.
From the previous quarter, I'll find a gun, drugs, money, and something else, and I'll pick those case numbers, and I don't tell them when I'm doing it. I'll just grab the detective who's in charge of the evidence room, and I'll have 4 case numbers and 4 items, and I'll say, show me this.
Right.
And he has to go find it and show it to me. I'll say, show me this, and he has to find it and show it to me. So we do that every quarter. And that's kind of a standard thing, like evidence room audits are regular. And every once in a while I'll go way back, something that's stored downstairs, because some of our evidence is stored downstairs. Every once in a while I will pick something that goes way back historically, and they hate it when I do that because I have to go dig it out. But they do well, and they find it, so.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting to do that, and it's not their favorite, but it's gotta get done, it's important, so.
What's the breathing quality with something like that for a ceiling? Can I take a picture of it?
So, sure, you can take a picture of it. I don't think there are any breathing issues with that because they are, despite their poor condition, they are modern ceiling tiles or suspended ceiling. It's not asbestos or anything like that. But anyway, you had asked me about the evidence room. I can't take you in there to show you, but the ventilation is bad. If you go in there, it just reeks of marijuana because
Yeah.
marijuana smells the most, more than any other drug. And it just stinks in there because there's absolutely no ventilation. It's bad. I wish I could open this door to show you sort of our little server room
Okay.
that we have set up, because it's horrible. We've got, you know, $40,000 worth of servers stacked up in this tiny little space that is not adequately ventilated, so they actually cut a hole in the cement wall where there's an air conditioner stuck in to ventilate those, because big servers generate a tremendous amount of heat. The reason this is locked and I can't access it is because that's where all the electronic evidence is. So cell phones and computers and iPads and stuff that we seize, that we do forensic analysis on, is all kept in there. So that's technically another, in addition to being Detective Johnson's office, that's technically another evidence room.
Okay.
Which is why I can't access it.
So, wait a minute, so an officer also uses that as his office?
Yep, Detective Johnson does, Eric Johnson does.
And
Yep.
it's hot and stuffy and...
And it's sometimes hot and stuffy, and sometimes cold. I mean, it depends on, in the summertime, it gets pretty hot in there because the air conditioners can't keep up with the servers, can't keep them cool. This time of year, it's not too bad. And this is our other interview room. There's this one and there's one across the hall.
Yep.
Same
You have
thing.
an old pattern thing, isn't it?
I know, isn't it funny? We got this. You can take a picture of this if you want.
I am.
This is equipment storage. We got these donated to us when JCPenney closed,
No kidding.
because we were so desperate for storage that a local business had to donate these drawers for us.
Oh, too funny.
It's funny, but it's kind of embarrassing too, you
Yeah, just a
know?
little bit.
So again, talking about interview rooms, if we want to bring in a suspect to be interviewed, we have to bring him into the detective's work area to get him to an interview room.
Yeah.
So that has a whole host of problems because, you know, officers are, I don't want to say vulnerable, but when they're in the office, they're in the office. They're not thinking so much about being safe and keeping themselves safe and whatnot. And, you know, if someone gets brought in here to be interviewed, they're more vulnerable, you know. And the people that are coming in, the officers that are bringing people in, they don't know what's going on back here. And when you're in here, you never really know who's going to come through that door and come in here, who an officer is going to escort through here.
Do you have to also worry about someone coming through and hearing about another case or seeing evidence of another case?
That happens a lot. So you'll notice this board is blank. We used to put all sorts of case-related stuff up here that we just don't anymore because for exactly that reason. You know, we could be over here, we could have 15 officers in that room talking about a search warrant that we're going to execute tomorrow morning, and someone could get walked through here and sit in this interview room and listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because we're 20 feet away.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely a problem. That's definitely a problem. If an officer, a detective brought someone in here and interrogated them about a case and they confessed, and the officer decided to arrest them, or the detective arrested them, stand them up, handcuff them, now they have two choices. They can walk them, either way, we have to go through a public space.
Right.
So we're in the police department, I've arrested someone, I have to go through a public place to get them to the booking area. There's no other way to do it. So my choices are either go right here where people are waiting to talk to police officers and walk them by, which is demeaning to them and potentially
and they're
dangerous.
still technically innocent till proven
Well, that's
guilty.
why, yeah, it's demeaning and it's not appropriate, but we don't really have a choice. And it's potentially dangerous for the folks out there. Or we can walk them this way so that we can kind of scoot them across the hall where we came through, you know, further up. But now I'm walking them past working detectives' desks where they can look down and see who knows who knows what's going to be up on computer screens and stuff like that. So that's the whole workflow thing, which is a big part of it. And we'll see what ultimately happens with that.
Yep.
I can take you downstairs, unless you have more questions up here, which we can talk about, or I can take you downstairs to the locker rooms and stuff.
I'm ready for downstairs.
Ready
Are
for
you
downstairs?
ready for downstairs?
All right, let's go downstairs.
Okay.
All right.
After you, James.
So this is an area, again, in the presentations it's been talked about where, you know, if I were to come in with my 14-year-old daughter and report some really kind of revealing and difficult case, we'd have to come in here, kind tell a dispatcher, hey, I'd like to talk to an officer about whatever happened to my daughter, at the same time that you're coming through to pay your taxes. And James is coming through to go to work at BCTV. Like, it's all the same
Yeah.
hallway, and that's not good. While the detective is bringing someone out that he just arrested. You know, too much going on in this hallway, it's not good. Our little museum, which is kind of cool.
Which I love reading the clippings and everything.
This book, if you can ever convince someone to get you
open
into
it?
this thing, that is open to probably the least sort of controversial page of that book, the arrest journal.
Really?
There's stuff in there, Olga, like, I can't even think of some of the ridiculous things. People not putting their pigs away before dark. Or a woman being intoxicated in public. There's several of those in there.
Wow.
There's
Yes,
a
that was
whole-
not an okay thing.
Oh no, but you'd get arrested. And then there'll be notes, it'll say, you know, for the charge, so lots of intoxication you'll see, it'll say, female intoxicated after dark or something like that, or out without escort. It doesn't say out without escort, not that bad. It's not Saudi Arabia, but there'll be things like that, and then it'll say a note like, picked up by husband. Like, just really, and that was totally, I mean, it's totally okay to write in a public thing. I mean, these are from the 30s, right here,
Yeah.
you know? But it's just, it's really a neat book to look through sometime. And we have several of them, but it's really cool. And that was the whole booking process. That's all that they would do is right in
Really?
there. Yep, that
Wow.
was the whole thing. Kind of neat.
And you might, do you ever miss those days where it's like, well, all I would have to do is fill out one line?
That would be nice, yes, that would be good.
Have you heard anything about the Hollywood heroin? Are you seeing it in town?
Not yet, we haven't, I'm sure we will, because all our heroin comes from, not all, much of our heroin comes from Massachusetts.
Yep.
But, no, not yet. So this is, again, the public space, private space, shared space stuff. I mean, you can tell just by looking around, this is a really old beat up building.
Yep.
This does not belong to the police department, this
Okay.
area here. So, as you can see, we came through an unsecured door, any member of the public can come down here. So you come down these stairs.
Yep.
I'll let you snap some pictures if you want, I can wait. You good?
I'm good, thank you.
So you come down here, and there's a whole bunch of stuff down here. So on the other side of that sort of chicken wire fence is all of the supplies for the building. Toilet paper, cleaning products, garbage bags, you know, all that kind of stuff that Russ Brown, who's the building maintenance guy, uses to run the building. This is his little work area over here, where he's got all of his stuff. Our ammunition is stored in here,
Oh, interesting.
just behind a deadbolt. Again, I'd rather if you didn't take a picture of that.
Nope.
You could just put, you know, it's not in an inconvenient place. Please don't put not secured, but the fact of the matter is, the reality is, if you came down here with a big thing of deadbolt, and I mean, it's all there.
Yeah. I mean, actually, what the best thing it has going for it is it kind of looks like
nondescript, right?
Nothing.
Right,
Yeah.
just a neat little thing, so. No, you can't have that. This is the brains of the phone system for the entire building.
Okay.
So if you got in there and unplug a couple of wires, Peter
Good
Elwell's
balls.
phone will go out, right? The chief has talked at his presentations about segregating, we need to have women's and men's areas segregated. This is the men's and women's locker room.
Yep.
The women are segregated by the fact that these lockers are sort of stacked up into a little V. So the female officers have their lockers in here.
Right.
There's one officer's locker, there's another officer's locker, and then we just had an officer's leave. But this is their area, but this isn't separate. You know, I mean, it's not private. It's not sufficient.
Well, and even though they're sequestered to a certain extent, they still need to walk through and.
Well, they
these
do.
guys are.
Right, exactly, and we're not, right, we're
Right.
entitled to privacy as much as they are. So, behind you here is our gym,
Yep.
which actually is outfitted reasonably well, there's a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
But, the room is in very rough shape. So this is all mold
Yep.
on the walls here. And there's visible mold that has broken, you can take pictures of that if you want, yep. There's visible mold that has broken through there, and then, get something I can poke this with. The mold is also behind the paint, and it disintegrates the paint.
Yeah.
So you can't really see the mold, but it disintegrates the paint off of these old rocks and stuff, and a lot of that has to do with moisture. If you look at the floor, you can see when it rains where the flooding happens.
Yep.
So if we get a heavy rain, these are all watermarks on the floor when the floor floods.
What's the water table in this room? High?
I don't know. I just know that it floods down here when it rains, which isn't good.
Yeah, is the floor supposed to feel spongy? Is that the paint you know?
I don't know why the floor feels spongy. It's not because of the paint.
Okay.
And it's really weird. I think a floor was poured onto a floor because sometimes when you, like if you're on the floor doing push-ups or something, or you put a weight down, it goes clunk in like a weird hollow way.
Oh.
There's definitely like you can kind of hear it. But it's not everywhere.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. I don't know what the history of the floor is, but it's not.
So if I was writing a mystery novel, this is where I'd.
Oh, this is where all the bodies are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
this is where the bodies
That's
are.
where all the bodies are. So again, more lockers. Mine's down there on the left. Please don't take a picture of my funny beach towel there.
Yep.
There are 4 bathrooms. One of them is designated as a women's only bathroom. This is a dehumidifier that runs 24/7, 365 because it's always so moist down here. Even on a freezing cold day like today, that thing will be running.
Yep.
You
You guys being the department built this yourselves, didn't you?
No, this was actually built by John Allen. I think he wasn't a select board member at the time, but he won the bid.
Okay.
There were just 2 bathrooms down here. Now there are 4. And each bathroom has a shower as well. But no, John Allen's crew built this maybe 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. It was before he was a select board member. And then beyond that door is where all the longer term record storage is.
Okay.
So you walk through the department here to get to, walk through the locker room, I should say, to get to the record storage. There's mold, so all this, I can move some stuff if you want, you can stand up on that, however you want to do it. So this whole wall is covered in mold. You can see the top of it there.
Yep.
You can probably feel it in your lungs too. If you want to hold your phone up or try to get a shot of that. That mold goes all the way down to the floor and all the way across. There's more over there, you might be able to get a better shot over there.
Okay. You're taller.
Yeah, no, not at all. Do you want the locker too for reference, or do you just want the wall?
Nice.
Good?
Yep. Nice.
So, what was I gonna say? Oh, so because it is so wet down here, like moist down here, it's messier sometimes because we leave a lot of stuff out. So everyone's towels is, you'll see everyone leaves their towels out because if you leave something even the slightest bit damp in your locker, it gets moldy in like 2 days.
Wow.
So towels don't go in lockers, no one puts their boots in their lockers. You can see vests, like this guy has his vest hanging out. Whoop!
Whoops.
I leave my vest out, I hang it on the outside of my locker because they get really dingy and nasty in lockers.
Okay.
Because it's so moist down here, especially in the summertime. It can get pretty bad. A lot of guys leave their lockers open. You can see all these are open. What they'll do is they'll take their weapons out of their lockers and lock those securely in a different locker, but then leave the lockers with all their uniforms and clothes and stuff. They'll leave those open so that air.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that. I mean, these lockers are very old. And these black lockers, I don't remember if those came from JCPenney too or if they came from somewhere else.
Oh wow.
But those were also donated. And then these
Okay.
are just high school lockers. I mean, they're not proper lockers. All right, we'll get you guys out of here. You're hacking and going. So again, the mold and the moisture and whatnot, and you know, we put officers in there to exercise because we hold them to a certain physical standard. So they're in there breathing heavy with all that mold. You know, that's not good. So this is what I like to call dive control. You know, pretend you're in a submarine. Dive. I like to reenact submarine movies when I'm done.
They're like, oh, the mold is getting full.
Yes, exactly.
No, it's good to remember movies from time to time.
Yes. I like submarines. I'll show you, might have to get a key for it. There's another room we call the bike room because it's a room where we store a lot of bicycles and other large pieces of evidence.
Okay.
But it's sort of around the corner and tucked in back there. We store a lot of evidence in there. Yeah, you can take pictures of that. And again, this area that we're in right now doesn't lock. There's no funk, which is why there's a lock here.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have the capability to lock. That upstairs door is locked. Now, this isn't really open to the public, you know, people are welcome to be down here whenever they want, but it's not secure,
Right.
you know, so.
Yeah, if you're running out of toilet paper at home, you don't feel like
There you
going to
go.
the grocery store, just.
Come right down here.
And I love the old wooden stairs.
Yeah, well, kind of, he repaints them maybe every 3 years or so, because as you can see, they get pretty worn down. Yeah, it's definitely not a building that's designed to be a police department.
Where was the police department before it was here?
I have no idea. I don't know. This building was
It was a high school.
a high school, and it was a courthouse as well at some point.
Okay.
There was like a municipal court, like a Brattleboro court that was run out of here. Again, I think that's like decades ago. The state's attorney's office was here at one point, decades ago. But I don't know where the police department was before it was here. I think actually the state police were here too.
Oh, no kidding.
I think the state police barracks was here. But I don't know where the police department was before it was.
Okay.
You have to go back to work. All right.
Yeah, almost time.